Okay, and the next thing I want to do quickly in here is actually show you how to work with the timestamps. And practically in the context of this, I want to limit my data to just the last year, okay? Because otherwise it's going to take a really long time to process the graphs. But I think it's also useful if you're trying to work with the time yet and you're having issues for how to compare the times. Like it's one thing to just read it in and visualize it, but if you want to compare, like say, is one thing earlier or after, there's a library you can work with to understand these timestamps in Python. Okay. So I know some of you are interested in working with time, so you can use this library to do that. And the library we can use is called date utility. So I'm just going to maybe do this in a new script, just show you how this library works. So from date util, I'm going to import parser. Date utility just gives you a lot of functions to work with date and time standards. If you look at the data we have, it has this standard timestamp, right? This means something to us, but if you import this in Python, by default, it'll just come in as a string. Like it doesn't really mean anything, right? You can't compare and say, is this smaller, is this earlier or later than another date? But dateutil, this parser function will let us take that standard representation, convert it into like a number so that we can compare it to other dates. So here I'm just going to bring in this whatever random date. I'm going to say time equals parser dot parse. This is a function of this library. And I'm going to bring in this date. So it's just going to convert this human readable text to a number you can work with. So if I look at the type of time, it's just a datetime object, right? If I print it, it's going to convert it back to a human readable format. But because now it's a datetime object, I can compare it 2 times, okay? So what I want to do is actually, before I read through these zip files, I want to set a date that I'm interested in, say 1 year ago. And then when I'm looking through these files, I want to make sure I'm only capturing users that have checked in since this time. Okay, so the date I'm going to be interested in will be, and you don't need the Friday, whatever this is, as long as it's standard format, you can find like standard time formats. It'll actually parse through it and understand it. So I'm just going to look at from June 1st, 2014. And you want to keep this as the same, this offset is the same as in your data file. Okay, so my time max is going to be this June 1st. And I'm only going to look at data since June 1st, 2014. So the first thing I do is get the time, right? So here I'm getting the user ID as the third entry in this data. I'm going to say time equals parser.parse entry.split. Okay, this is just how I got the UID from this file. That was the 4th entry here. The time is actually the 1st entry. So I'm getting the time in this format from that data, and I'm using parser to parse that and convert it into a date time format. So now this time will store the time that check-in happened. And then I'm going to have a test here that says if time is smaller than my max time, I'm going to break out of this whole structure. Okay, so continue will go on to the next iteration of the loop. Break will leave the loop completely. And because these are organized in a reverse chronological order, it's going to go through each of these, and it's going to start with the latest check-in. As soon as it reaches a check-in that is before June 1st, it's going to break out of that text file and go on to the next text file. Okay? So I'm going to run this again. So now this dictionary that I'm storing in my pickle file is going to be for each place ID that I'm interested in, Shenzhen, Hong Kong restaurants, right? It's going to have a dictionary which has the latitude, longitude, and all the users in chronological order since June 1st. And that's the data that I'm going to have in my pickle file here. You can see it's not that big, right? Because I'm really limiting what I'm looking at. And it's another reason to pickle things, because if this is all you want to work with, you can work with this file all the time. You don't have to look at the whole zip file again.